All right, let's try that again. All right. Wow, we're off to a good start today. So when I typically do stuff like this, I usually am just free flowing it all. But yeah, so anyways, when we got this playtest, I was not expecting a gunslinger. I was expecting 2 more classes for I think it's Mysteries of Magic coming out next year, and was bouncing ideas with people in my Discord and, in the Pathfinder group, and I was just really stumped on what it was going to be. And obviously everyone I talked to wanted the gunslinger, and I wanted the gunslinger. So when I saw this playtest, I got a little bit excited. I've wanted the gunslinger for a while now, and the only reason is because the gunslinger is so synonymous with Pathfinder in general. Like, first edition, the gunslinger was a huge, huge class. A lot of people liked it, and it was awesome. So when they announced that they were going to do the gunslinger in the playtest, like when it came out on the 5th, I think a lot of people were really excited. Now, I did not think I would want technology coming into my games, and so far, just with this playtest, I will say I am very excited. So, Rollstat says I wanted the gunslinger. Yeah, the gunslinger is cool, man. So anyways, we're going to get into this. I'm not going to read everything. This is long. I originally filmed a gunslinger video, and I had 2 hours of footage, and that I was trying to whittle down into as small a video as possible. So what I'm thinking is, depending on the comments tonight and all of that and feedback, I might do shorter videos if people really want me to do more on the gunslinger and the inventor. The inventor is really cool. I really think it's going to be awesome. But when I do that, it would be something about, like, here's my favorite feats, here's the new rules, here's the new equipment. Maybe not equipment, but yeah, so we'll see based on what you guys think. So let's dive into this. So the very first thing it's kind of mentioning here about uncommon classes is that in Pathfinder, most classes and stuff, you can assume you're just allowed to play. If something has an uncommon trait, that means you need to ask your game master for permission. It's not something that's going to be everywhere. It's not going to be something that's readily available for everyone. And so that's the thing to remember. And I like that they've built this into the game. So it's not just this, oh yeah, I'm going to play the gunslinger, no big deal. And then you show up for session 1, and then the game master is like, wait, we don't allow gunslingers, This kind of goes without saying. A game master doesn't have to say, oh, all of these things we're not allowing, right? So it's kind of a flip of what you're used to. You're used to being told, oh, you can play everything except for this, this, and this. Well, in this case, uncommon just means you need to ask before you assume. That's all. And I think it's wonderful how they do that. I think it makes it easier on game masters. So if you are somebody who does not want this kind of stuff in your games, then this should not be a problem because of the uncommon trait. Now, if you don't like this stuff in fantasy, I don't know why you're playing in Pathfinder's setting. If you're playing in Galarian, this stuff is in there. They've got robots in a certain part of the world. They got all sorts of things like this. And, a lot of people like it. I'll admit, a lot of those areas I'm not really interested in. I like Varissia a lot. I like Cheliax. I like that area a lot. The Mwangi Expanse, I like that area down south. Like, Osirian is kind of cool. It's not my favorite, but I kind of like the idea of going there occasionally. So again, there's some really cool things I like. And again, not every area is for every gaming group. Now, the gunslinger in here does have some feats that are inspired by video games and movies and anime and comic books and stuff like that. And you'll see it. And the same thing with the inventor. And I will admit, I like that they're not afraid to try these things. I really, really like that about Paizo. That's not anything new. Other games do it too. But again, I like it when they're willing to take these big steps. Now, it is just a playtest. It's not like they're putting this in a book and just hoping you'll like these things. But, we'll see. So this is the new iconic for the gunslinger. It's a dwarf. It looks like she's got some kind of cannon. Which, by the way, something that's not in here that I wish was in here is the gun blade. Hey, Juice, can I play the gunslinger? You certainly can, Bill. I would love a gun blade. Like, I'm thinking back to like Final Fantasy VIII, where you had the sword with the gun trigger, and if you hit the button at the right time, you're like shooting at the same time. That would have been cool. And to me, that's a missed opportunity. So I'm hoping that's in the book next year. I think it's September that this is going to come out. The other thing that's going to be in there, or at least I'm thinking might be in there, is the battle wheelchair, or the wheelchair thing that was kind of controversial in other communities, which it shouldn't have been. But I actually think that'll be kind of cool, and I'm expecting to see that in this book. So we'll see, though. So the gunslinger, let's dive into it. So again, I'm not going to get into everything. I love these little intro sections in the start of every class that they have. It gives you ideas on how to role play it, what you might do in your day-to-day, what you're going to do in your downtime. All this stuff encourages you to role play your character in a variety of different ways. And I like that. I like that they're putting that first up front before all the mechanics to get people thinking, well, how am I going to role play this character? What is my concept for this gunslinger? So again, I like that a lot. I'm not going to read it. You guys can go download this. That is in the description if you want to read up on all this. So the one thing I'll say about Pathfinder Second Edition, and with the hit points, I would probably have changed across the board, even in the core rulebook. I would have adjusted some of the hit points. For example, your sorcerer, your wizard, they only get 6 hit points plus their con mod. But then like a lot of other classes get 8 or 10. And it feels like they played it safe with 8 in most instances. And in a lot of them, I would have made it 6. So in my opinion, for both of these classes in this, I probably would have made both of them a 6, personally. So example, gunslinger. When I think of a gunslinger, it's somebody who's going to be able to do something at range, not necessarily up within 5 feet. So I feel like it should almost encourage them to try and keep back a little bit. And so I think that the hit point should have been a 6. Just a little minor thing. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but that, 2 hit point difference every level. I don't know. So that's what I would go with. Now, you get new key terms with the gunslinger. The flourish trait means you can only do it once per round, okay? So of your 3 actions, you can only do this once. I really like this because, again, I think it makes it so you're not just going to spam your best thing over and over again. I mean, you're still probably going to. It's just not going to be multiple times in a round. Misfire, it's kind of an old mechanic that's coming back. Basically, there's a chance of misfiring and messing up your weapon, right? Impress. So Nope. Oh, it is. Did you try unplugging it and plugging it back in again? Sorry, guys. It might be time to get a new microphone or something. I don't know. I don't know what the last thing you guys heard was. Worth noting, Flourish isn't new. It's a staple of martial abilities. Okay, yeah. So far, I've only run Pathfinder. So, anyways, I still like the Flourish trait. I think it's perfect for across the board. And, you know, that kind of goes without saying. So I'll just go back through the three. So the Way of the Drifter is kind of your type of gunslinger who's going to move in and out of close range and things like that. The Way of the Pistolero is your typical Wild West gunslinger, and in my opinion fits in perfect with all fantasy. You're going to find that it represents the whole like taking 10 steps, turn around, draw both your weapons all as your initiative. So you can draw 2 weapons and do your 10-foot step on initiative. Doesn't use up any actions. I like that a lot. Again, I think that fits in perfect. The Way of the Sniper is a little bit overpowered in my opinion. It's more of your modern gunslinger, what you would think of in today's military, right? Your sniper can literally shoot at high enough level. They can shoot and stay hidden. Like, that's just crazy. So, it doesn't give away their positioning. And I think that's a little much, but I do still think it's kind of cool. Well, I think it's really cool. I wonder about game balance. I could see as somebody running a game, this being really annoying, especially at higher levels, and it would lose a lot of interest. But a lot of things get so powerful at high levels that it might just ruin the interest of running high-end campaigns, in my opinion. Now there's going through the stuff you get, like for any kind of gunslinger. There were a couple things that kind of stood out to me. Originally Stubborn did, but only because I think it's going to sway how people roleplay a little bit. And I hope that not everybody roleplays all their gunslingers as a stubborn character. But basically it gives you bonuses to like will saves, and there's some things that require stubborn for their trait, for their feats, I think. So yeah, anyway, so there's that, but you get that at 3rd level. What was the other one? I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it Expertise? Yeah. So basically a gunslinger is going to be on par with your fighter when it comes to their how well trained they are with their weapons. They're going to be able to hit more, and because of it, the way that the critical hit system works, they're probably going to crit a lot more than most other players in your groups. They're going to crit more than practically everybody other than maybe your ranger and your fighter. Your fighter definitely is going to be on par. The ranger, because of the multi-attack penalty thing, they're able to hit consecutively with less of a penalty. So maybe they're going to be on par, or maybe the ranger will be a little better on that. But we'll see. Again, I haven't actually played this yet. This is just with reading it a couple times and and things like that. So to me, that one is the big one. The other thing to note too, your gunslingers proficient in light armor. They aren't proficient in medium or heavy armor. So yeah. So the Way of the Drifter, Into the Fray. So this is something that all of them get at 1st level, or whenever you get your way. I think it's 1st level. You know trouble can lurk around every corner, and your hands never stray far from your holsters. You can interact to draw a ranged weapon, and can interact to draw a one-handed weapon, melee weapon. As your first action on your next turn, you can stride toward an enemy. You can perceive as a free action. If you can't perceive any enemies or can't end your movement close to one, you can't stride in this way. And this is triggered by rolling your initiative. So it's a free action. So on your initiative, you're drawing your weapons and moving, which is also, again, the same thing you can do with your pistolero. And I just think that's a lot to be able to do on initiative. It makes sense to me, but you're going to get the drop a lot of times on your enemies with these things. The Rebounding Assault. Now, this is one that I saw people talking about. And to me, this could almost be reflavored as a gunblade or a gunblade ability. And I kind of like this one. So you're wielding both a loaded firearm or crossbow. And that's something also to note. A lot of things in this you can do with a crossbow or a powdered weapon. So even if in your game you're not allowing gunslingers per se with powdered weapons, you could still do this with crossbows, right? So anyways, you're wielding both a loaded firearm or crossbow and a one-handed melee weapon. So this is the one where you literally strike something, but then you take your gun and shoot it, or your crossbow and shoot it to deal extra damage. A lot of people hated this. I should say, it's not that you're striking something, it's you're throwing it. So you can throw it up to 10 feet, hit it with your weapon, shoot it, it'll hit them, and then bounce the weapon back. This to me is like very video gamey, like a button masher video game or anime related. I can't think of a time I've seen this in anything. But talking to some people, it sounds like it's an anime thing. It sounds kind of cool. It sounds fun. It sounds really far-fetched though. It's probably something that for a lot of people will be it'll take them out of the moment, especially since this is something they can do so much after 9th level. Basically, they can do it every round. It's a little much. I'm going to be honest. Not my favorite thing. It's cool, but it's something that would get old really quick. Drifter's Wake. You drift across the battlefield, striking down foes as you go. You stride. This movement doesn't trigger reactions. You can strike up to 3 times at any points during your movement. Each attack must target a different enemy and must be made with firearm, crossbow, one-handed melee weapon. So this is, to me, this is almost like going out in glory, right? Like just like no guts, no glory. I'm going for it, guys, and running through all of the bad guys, right? And you're just like, shoot. Oh, I'm right next to this guy. Cut, shoot. Like, and you can shoot anybody. You don't have to be next to him. So at 15th level, this guy would be like your perfect person for the military. You're just going to push the battlefield up into enemy territory. And I mean, that's cool. I like it. Again, this is something you would see in a movie, a comic book, whatever. It's going to use your whole 3 actions, but you get to attack 3 times and move. So again, it makes a lot of sense, really. I actually like that one. I actually wish they would switch that with the rebounding assault personally, just because I like this one flavor-wise. I think it's going to mix things up in combat. It's going to move guys around a little more rather than just, okay, there's the bad guy, move up, I'm stopped here, you know? And I know with the way that 2nd edition Pathfinder is, most monsters don't have attack of opportunity. So you could, in theory, do this with other characters as well. But I just like this one more. So, and they wouldn't be as effective as this guy either. If you did this with, say, your fighter or something. So the next one, this is the one I think you're going to like, roll stats, is the repeating hand crossbow. Yep. This one I think you're going to like, roll stats. So this is the Way of the Pistolero. This is your typical Wild West gunslinger. So the 10 pace is the thing you can do as a free action on your initiative. Basically, you can draw your weapons. One, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to your initiative. You can move 10 paces or 10 feet away from the enemy and have both weapons drawn on your initiative. So then when your actual first action comes up on your turn, you can do whatever. You already got your guns drawn. You're already 10 feet away. You know, all of those things. I like this one a lot. At 9th level, you get Pistolero's Retort. So a foe within either your reach or your weapon's first range increment critically fails an attack roll against you. Basically, you get a counterattack as a reaction, which I think is cool too. It's basically like, oh, you're quick, so you see a miss, boom, you shoot. I like that. The next one that one gets at 15th level is the Finish the Job. Your last action was a failed strike with a firearm or crossbow held in one hand. Though your last attack failed, it set you up for another. Make a strike with your other hand using a second loaded firearm or crossbow, a one-handed melee weapon, or an unarmed attack. Your multiple attack penalty does not apply to this. So, in other words, say you missed your second shot. Your first shot hit, no penalty. Your second shot is -5. You shoot, you miss. Your third one should normally be at a -10 penalty, but in this case, it's only going to be the -5 penalty. So this is going to, again, make it so you hit a lot more frequently than other characters. And I like this. So the pistol arrow right off the bat, to me, is perfect. Like, I wouldn't change anything about that. When we get into the way of the sniper, again, there's some stuff here that to me is just too much. So first level way of the sniper, 1 shot, 1 kill, free action. You roll stealth for initiative. So in other words, and the way Pathfinder Second Edition is, if you've never played Pathfinder Second Edition, your stealth is not tied to any one thing. It's typically your perception, but if you were in the middle of sneaking around or maybe investigating something or whatever, you're going to use the skill appropriate to the situation for your initiative. And I really like that. And so in this case, if you were stealthing, maybe you're hiding or you're sneaking, then this now applies. 1 shot, 1 kill. Your first shot is the deadliest. You interact to draw a firearm or crossbow. On your first turn on this encounter, the first strike you make with that weapon that hits deals an additional 1d6 precision damage. So you're going to deal your normal damage, but then you're also going to do an additional amount of damage. This bonus damage increases to 2d6 at 9th and 3d6 at 15th. At 9th level, you get Vital Shots, 2 actions. Your careful shot against an unsuspecting opponent pierces a vital organ. Make a ranged strike. If the target is flat-footed, the strike deals an extra die of weapon damage, and the foe takes persistent bleed damage equal to the amount of bonus damage listed for 1 shot, 1 kill. So at 9th level, we know that's 2d6 damage. 2d6 damage every single round, to me, is too much. Most things that you see, it's a lot less than that. So again, I think that's going to be a big deal. I think that's going to be, again, really powerful. Now, this other one is even more powerful. At 15th level, this takes the Flourish trait. It's a single action. Make a firearm or crossbow strike. If you're hidden, undetected, or unobserved by the target, the strike deals additional precision damage equal to the precision damage from 1 shot, 1 kill. After the strike, you don't automatically become observed. Again, you do not automatically give up your spot when you do this. Again, I think that is kind of crazy. So not only are you going to be doing the extra damage that's going to continue to reoccur every round, you're doing additional precision damage. Like, I just think that's a lot. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that one's too powerful? Because I personally do. But it is 15th level, so I don't know. I'm going to catch up on some of the chat here. By the way, sorry about my microphone earlier. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Had 2 audio issues so far. That's no good. Inventor sounds a bit like me, although I mainly adapt, which kind of defines most invention, I guess. The Inventor is really cool. We'll get to that in a little bit. Repeating hand crossbow. Fun fact, the repeating crossbow already exists. Repeating hand crossbow even. Brandon says hello there. Not played Pathfinder yet, but I have been playing Starfinder. Oh, okay. I've never played Starfinder, so that's interesting. Think that I remember you from Melbourne Symphony live streams. Long time no see. Is that you? How have you been? John Wick 3 gunplay. These are pretty amazing things. I can definitely see these being like from a movie. Rollstat says, when Juce says really powerful, he really means OP, but doesn't want to say that. I mean, so my issue, so I can't say that I know Pathfinder Second Edition enough to know what things are truly in line with other things. So that's why I say really powerful. That's the only reason. To me, I do think this Way of the Sniper is OP. I do. I think it's going to need some toning down a touch, but I don't know. Again, I'm familiar with the system. I'm not an expert on it yet. I'm working on it. So yeah, anyway, so that's it. So then now we get into the feats. Now, some of these feats are really cool. So cover fire basically is like suppression fire. If an enemy has or is near cover, if you decide to use your action to do this, the other person can decide if they're going to take cover or not, which I think is cool. So it takes cover against your attack, gaining a +4 circumstance bonus to AC from greater cover, but also takes a -2 circumstance penalty to ranged attacks until the end of its next turn. This greater cover applies only against your strike, not to future attacks. If the target chooses not to duck, the strike functions normally. So if they decide to take the cover, just on this single attack, they get a bonus to their armor class. As long as they stay behind cover, they still get the cover bonus. But on their turn, if they jump up to shoot you, they have a penalty to shoot you because of the suppression, right? That's the idea. To me, it makes a lot of sense. It's a mechanic that builds in something. I've never seen a good mechanic for this before. And this, I don't know if this is necessarily a great mechanic for it, but it's something that I haven't seen in a game before. And so I kind of like that. Again, it makes me feel very military-esque rather than like fantasy, like Saving Private Ryan, like kind of thing. So I like it. And it, as a character being shot at, it gives you an option to take cover or to stand out in the open and get hit, right? So again, I don't know. Obviously, there's nothing about staying out in the open. I feel like you need to add a chance to hit to somebody who doesn't take cover, though. I think that's the next step to that. And maybe it's only a +1 circumstance bonus to hit if they choose not to take cover, right? But I like that. And who knows? Maybe it's gives you a +1 circumstance to hit the whole round if they choose not to take cover, right? That would be kind of nice, I think. Firearm ace, you have practice understanding of firearms workings. Workings. Okay, yeah, it's not capitalized. That's weird. Their mechanisms and the best way to utilize them. Okay, or just my reading comprehension sucks and I have it too small on my screen. When you're wielding a firearm and interact to reload it, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to the damage roll on your next strike with that firearm. Again, so this is kind of cool. Not going to worry about that too much. Hit the dirt. So this is basically making them drop prone. Creature you can see attempts a ranged strike against you. You fling yourself out of harm's way, perhaps through a quick thinking of pure instinct. You leap to avoid harm, gaining a +2 circumstance bonus to armor class against the triggering attack, regardless of whether or not the triggering attack hits you. Land prone after completing your leap. Now, I don't know if there's actual rules in this about if you're prone against a ranged attack, but I feel like there should already be a circumstance penalty at a ranged attack if you're prone. So I don't know if this just adds to it or what. It is kind of cool that as your reaction, you can drop prone because that makes perfect sense. This is something that most people would do logically if a bunch of people start shooting. The downside to this is on your next turn, if you want to stand up, that's going to use an action. So one of your actions to stand up. But, again, I think that's kind of fine, especially if you have like a lot of ranged combat in your games. I think this could be really helpful and just stay prone at that point, right? Sword and pistol, melee attacks with strikes. Yeah, whatever. Assisting shot. With a quick shot, you interfere with a foe during combat. Make a strike with a firearm or crossbow. If the strike hits, the next creature other than you to attack the same target before the start of your next turn gains a +1 circumstance bonus to their roll, or +2 circumstance bonus if your strike was a critical hit. So again, I think that's kind of cool. Again, I don't want to read every single one. I'll be here all night if I'm doing that. Blast lock, is this the one? So this is where you can shoot open locks. So this is something I saw people complaining about. I kind of like this. If you don't have a rogue in your party, this seems really cool. Being able to shoot locks open. Critical success, you open the lock. Or you achieve 2 successes toward opening a complex lock. Now, the reason I like this too is if you're doing dungeon crawls, anybody doing this is going to alert everybody in the dungeon anyway. So it's not necessarily as useful as just picking the lock, right? Picking the lock would still be your optimal choice, but this allows you to, not have to have a rogue in your group, which is cool. Plus, just the idea that you're blowing open locks is just cool. I mean, it makes sense, right? So again, not too OP, just fun, right? Pistol twirl. So this one I kind of like too. Your quick gestures and performative flair distract an opponent, leaving them vulnerable to your attack. You feint against an opponent within the required weapon's first range increment, rather than an opponent within melee reach. On a success or critical success, the foe is flat-footed against your melee and ranged attacks, rather than only your melee attacks. On a critical failure, you're flat-footed against both the target's melee and ranged attacks, rather than only its melee attacks. So, as I said before, your attack bonus because of, you know, being an expert marksman and all that stuff, and being on par with a fighter is going to make it so you hit more often. Now that you're getting them flat-footed, you're going to critically hit even more. This is going to be something that people are going to take a lot. It's a second level feat. You're going to see this a hell of a lot throughout your games, I think. I like it. I do like that there's a downside of being flat-footed yourself if you critically fail. But with the being trained, expert, and all that stuff with different weapons on par with a fighter, I don't think the downside is going to come into play enough to make people second guess taking this. And so again, I think you're going to see this a lot. Yeah. So I don't know. Wow, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. You guys are talking about a lot of stuff. Looks like you guys are getting along well. I like that. So with the sniper, would the muzzle flash give away the location? Not if you're at 15th level. I mean, you could try to use logic in it, but then it defeats the whole purpose of the mechanic in it. You know? So, again, I think that's okay, though. I don't... The sniper, I think, needs a little bit of tweaking. That might be one of those things, and there's not a lot where you might just want to not allow it as it is right now. I don't know. I haven't play tested it, so we'd have to see. So quick draw. It is what it says. One action, second level feat. You draw your weapon and attack with the same motion. You know, basically to me, again, this is your Wild West Gunslinger. Boom, right? But you don't need it with two of the basically the only people that are going to take that are your snipers, because the other two on initiative get to draw their weapons. So I don't think that a lot of people are going to take quick draw just because you already get it from the way of the drifter and way of the pistolero. Otherwise, I think this is a great feat. So again, I think just your snipers are going to take that. But even them, I think technically, let me go back. I'm pretty sure the sniper even gets to do that on their first round. Your first shot is the deadly. You interact to draw a firearm or crossbow on you. Yeah, you interact to draw a yeah. So on initiative, as long as you did stealth, you're already going to have your weapon drawn. So you're not going to need quick draw. So nobody's going to take quick draw the way I see it within the confines of the three options you have anyways, which is unfortunate because I think that's a good feat and it's not changing. The only thing it's changing is giving you possibly one more action, which even then, I don't know. Maybe not. I guess it's letting you attack at the same time that you draw a weapon. I don't know. And I guess you could do it with things other than a gun. So maybe you would do it as a pistolero, you know, if you want to use a range weapon. But see, even then, you're going to take your 10-foot paces to drop back. So no, I don't think anyone's going to take that, honestly. That's unfortunate because I think that's a good feat. Risky reload. Single action, wielding a firearm. You've practiced a technique for rapidly reloading your firearm. But it's a dangerous gamble with your firearm's functionality. Interact to reload a firearm. Then make a strike with that firearm. If the strike fails, the firearm misfires. So why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal? Misfire. Firearms that have been improperly cared for are subjected to unusual strain can misfire. If you attempt to fire a firearm that was used the previous day and that hasn't been cleaned and maintained since then, attempt a DC 5 flat check before making your attack roll. If you fail this misfire check, the weapon misfires and jams. The attack also becomes a critical failure, and you must use an interact action to clear the jam. Oh, okay, so then you have to waste an action to do, not waste. You have to use an action to clear the jam before you can reload and fire the weapon again. So then you also have to spend an action to reload. Okay, so that would basically be your whole turn if you have that risky reload, and then, you know, obviously it doesn't work. So the next one is warning shot. This is another one I really like. It allows you to use your gun as an intimidation check. Basically, you shoot your firearm in the air, or down at the ground, or something to get their attention, right? So who needs words when the roar of a gun is so much more succinct? You attempt to demoralize a foe by firing your weapon into the air using the firearm's maximum range rather than the usual range of 30 feet. This check doesn't take the -4 circumstance penalty if the target doesn't share a language with you. So again, I kind of like that one. Alchemical shot at 4th level. So this one's a little wonky to me. But it's more in line with like your typical stuff in anime, right? So you have an alchemical bomb, worn or in one hand, and are wielding a loaded firearm. So this kind of could work with maybe you've taken an archetype with the alchemist, or you've got another player in the party who's an alchemist. So it's kind of some teamwork here. It's kind of cool. You practice technique for mixing alchemical bombs with your loaded shot. You interact to retrieve the bomb if it's not already in your hand and pour it onto your ammunition, consuming the bomb. Then strike with your weapon. The strike deals damage of the same type as the bomb, for instance, fire damage for alchemist fire. And it deals an additional 1d6 persistent damage of the same type as the bomb. If the strike fails, you take the 1d6 damage of the same type as the bomb you used, and the firearm misfires. The persistent damage increases to 2d6 if the bomb is level 11 or higher, 3d6 level 17 or higher. So again, I like this one a lot, and I like that it's got some negative effects if you fail. So I don't think this is something you're going to do a ton of. But if you succeed, the persistent damage is kind of high, 1d6. Again, I feel like I'm used to seeing like 1d4 or a static number for the persistent damage. Maybe not. Maybe this is something that's kind of reskinned from something else in another class. I don't know. But again, I like this one a lot. So again, it kind of, you could get some good party synergy going with this, I feel like, if you've got an alchemist in your group. Or you could just buy a bunch of alchemical bombs, when you're in town. So again, I like that one a lot. By the way, I love Star Wars, and I have no problem with the Disney versions. No, I have not gotten to the Inventor yet, Michael. So we will be doing the Inventor. We're going right through the order, and we're just in the Gunslinger. I hate misfire as a concept to nerf firearms. It's not a mechanic that I think balances or enhances the game in any noteworthy way. Yeah, the only thing that sucks is if you're spending your whole turn to, you misfire, then you have to clean it out and reload. Like, that's a little bit much, I think, but, it's okay. I actually don't mind it that much. Not as much as you, I think. For me, it's the equivalent of having a great axe be too heavy and risk having you pull a muscle if you miss. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that a little bit. A little bit. It makes sense why you don't like it to me. Definitely. What do you think about the game discussed in this stream? Would it be something you would want to play? Personally, I love Pathfinder Second Edition. I think it's pretty cool. I'd love to see your general thoughts about the class at the end. Yep, we're going to get to that. So, again, I'm not going to go over everything, although I've only skipped like 2 feet so far. Black Powder Boost as a reaction. You got to be wielding a loaded firearm, and trigger, you leap. So this is the Quake ability. So when I was in high school, we used to play Quake all the time against each other, and it was a ton of fun. And while dashing into position, you fire your weapon behind you to speed yourself along. You fire your weapon beneath or behind you, adding 10 feet to either the horizontal or vertical distance you travel. Again, this is not logical in any way, shape, or form, especially if you just have a normal gun. But if you had like a cannon, it's still not logical. But for the sake of stealing from video games like Call of Duty, Black Ops, or whatever, it's fun, right? So I'm all right with it. Running reload, you can reload your weapon on the move. You stride, step, or sneak, then interact to reload. Perfect feat for, I think, the sniper, especially with the sneaking idea. 6th level, Cauterize. So this one is, I think this one's a good one. I really like this. A single action. You press your gun's heated barrel to your wounds or those of an ally, instantly granting a flat check to end the bleed with a lower DC for particular effective assistance. I really like this one. I like it. You get rid of the continual damage every round, and to me, it's something you see in movies a lot. It's something that I think you're actually trained to do if you do suffer a really bad wound. I like it. What do you guys think so far? Gunslinger sound cool or OP, or what do you think? Probably would have. It's nice that misfire is almost entirely opt-in. What do you mean by entirely opt-in? Is there a maximum number of guns you can carry? It'd be associated with your bulk. Pathfinder Second Edition, I think, does a good job about how they calculate encumbrance. It's not necessarily based on weight. Items have a number, but it's not like how many pounds, right? So there's not a ton of math involved. You have like a total number. Certain things are light bulk. Light bulk are 1/10 of a normal bulk. And then heavier things have multiple bulk as far down as 1, right? So it's actually really easy to calculate your encumbrance. And it adds up fairly quick. So I haven't heard enough about this aspect of Pathfinder to form any meaningful opinions. That's fair. Completely unrelated, we made the bangers and smash from the D&D cookbook Heroes Feast, and it turned out really well. Good dwarven food. Oh, there you go. All right, Pistolero's Challenge. With a stern call-out, carefully chosen barb, or some other challenging declaration, you demand your foe's attention in a duel. Choose an opponent within 30 feet who you can perceive and can hear you, and make your choice of a deception or intimidation check. No matter the result of the check, the foe is temporarily immune to your Pistolero's Challenge until noon the next day. You can have only one challenge in effect at a time. Challenging a new opponent ends this effect on any current target. Otherwise, the effect lasts until one of you is defeated or flees, or the encounter ends. Success. Both you and the opponent gain a +2 status bonus to damage rolls with strikes made against each other. If you're a master in the skill you used for the check, the status bonus to damage rolls increases to +3. And if you're legendary, it increases to +4. So I love that you both now get bonuses when you hit each other. I really like it. If you critically fail, you become frightened 1 and can't use this ability again for 1 minute. But I like the fact that both of you get bonuses to damage. This is not something that's necessarily beneficial to you in the grand scheme of things, because it might get you killed. But I love the flavor here. It makes perfect sense for your Wild West gunslinger. So I'm digging that one. Michael says, I agree with you on the sniper build. It's interesting, but practically I'm curious at how it works around the table. It's kind of like the snare user ambush specialist. How much will be really feature? Yeah, I just think it sounds way too OP, being able to shoot and stay hidden later on. Like, that just seems a bit much to me. The thing that sucks is quick draw is completely useless. Not completely. It's 95% useless, and it's an early level feat that I don't think anyone should take if you're playing a gunslinger, just because of the 3 waves. Like, that's just, it's a good feat, but it's overruled, I guess, by the actual subclasses, I guess. Reloading strike. You attack and then reload your gun in 1 fluid movement. That's a single action. Strike an opponent within reach with your melee weapon or an unarmed attack, and then interact to reload. You don't need a free hand to reload in this way. Again, this is kind of cool. It's going to allow you to do it over and over again, where you don't have to worry about reloading. You just do it at the same time you shoot. Makes sense to me. Scatter blast is basically like your buckshot. Pack your weapon additional shot and powder, creating a risky but devastating arc of destruction, making a ranged strike with the required weapon. The range of your weapon increases from 15 feet to 30 feet, or 30 feet to 60 feet. If the weapon's range is already 60 feet or greater, this ability has no effect. The strike gains the following failure conditions. Firearm misfires. Critical failure, firearm explodes, becoming broken. Wait, did I misunderstand scattered? I thought that was like literally buckshot. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, it's just the range increase. Whatever. Shattering shot. You fling a bomb into the air and then shoot it, causing a damage. See, okay. So this one, to me, rather than having the bomb, this should have been the buckshot, actually, in my opinion. My bad. Draw the bomb and regrip your weapon. You throw your weapon your bomb in the air and shoot it like a clay pigeon. To the corner of a square, firearms first range increment, and shoot it with your firearm. All creatures in a 15-foot burst of the bomb take splash damage equal to the amount of precision damage. 1 shot, 1 kill deals. So it's a sniper deal. It's pretty good. I like that. Grit and tenacity. I like this one. When you fail fortitude or will save, you call upon deep reserves of toughness, mental fortitude to power through an otherwise debilitating effect. Reroll a triggering save with +2 circumstance bonus. Not necessarily applicable to a gunslinger, in my opinion, but it's still a cool ability to take. Paired shots, you're wielding 2 loaded one-handed crossbows or firearms, which to me screams pistolero right off the bat. Shots strike their target almost simultaneously, make 2 strikes, 1 with each of your 2 ranged weapons. Again, I like that one. Return fire, when you hit prone, you're quick enough to line up a shot even while diving to the ground. When you use your hit the dirt reaction at any point during your leap, you can also make a ranged strike with a loaded firearm or a crossbow against the creature whose attack triggered the reaction. I like this one a lot. I think it's going to be a good one. Shooter's aim, 2 actions. It has a concentrate trait. You take an extra moment to carefully align your aim and breathing. Make a ranged weapon strike. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to this strike's attack roll and ignore the target's concealment. If you're using a firearm with the unsteady trait, you don't take the normal circumstance penalty for firing without using a tripod or interact action to aim on the strike. So this is a good one. I know it's 2 actions, but how many times are you going to take a shot at -10? Especially if a lot of instances you have a higher chance of misfiring, which then makes your whole next round clean out your jam, reload your gun, and shoot. Like, I feel like this is a good one because you're going to spend 2 actions, get rid of that, and you're still going to be able to do 2 total attacks in the round. Smoke curtain. You load an extra dose of black powder into your shot, causing it to belch out a roiling cloud of smoke. Make a strike with your firearm to create a cloud of smoke in a 20-foot burst, centered on your location. Creatures are concealed within the smoke, and creatures outside the area are concealed to creatures within the smoke. The smoke dissipates in 1 round. The strike gains the following critical effect. The firearm misfires. So this is, again, really good for your sniper. Again, you're going to give yourself concealment, be able to hide, especially before level 15. I feel like this is something that's going to be very effective for them. Might want to carry more than 1 gun in case you do misfire, though. Just my take. How does Gunslinger go along with single-shot weapons such as flintlock pistols, or doesn't it? No, it does. So all this stuff you can do with flintlock pistols. There's no reason you can't. Like, all this stuff. These are like your special abilities you can do with any kind of crossbow or gun. Now, okay, honestly, and it tells you in the prerequisites. So, for example, the one I just read, requirements, you're wielding a loaded firearm. But you can do that with a flintlock pistol. You can't do that with a crossbow. However, some of these other things allow you, for example, the shattering shot, you're wielding a loaded firearm or a crossbow. We also have to have a loaded a bomb, an alchemist bomb, basically, as well. So again, it all comes down to the traits and prerequisites for all of these, for each situation we're talking about. So again, flintlock pistol will work for all these. It'll work for that boost shot thing that you could jump an extra 10 feet. Again, not realistic. This game is not meant to be realistic. Pathfinder Second Edition goes beyond what Dungeons and Dragons does. It's more, it's higher fantasy than Dungeons and Dragons. Your characters are more like something out of Final Fantasy, any of the Final Fantasy games. Or, again, like I've said before, anime. That's why when I see people complaining about these things in the playtest, their issue in my mind is really just the setting. Because this stuff is what Galarian's all about, in my opinion. It fits exactly what the setting is. Whereas, if you want low fantasy, you're probably playing the wrong game. Or if you want realism, you probably shouldn't be playing Pathfinder or D&D, right? You should probably go find a different game. Go play, I don't know, Dungeon Crawl Classics. I've never played that, but I feel like I've heard that that's not as much. But see, they're not demigods because it's all in relation to what they go up against, right? There are actual gods and demigods in Pathfinder that are way more powerful than all this stuff. So, my explanation of why misfire is opt-in is up at 8:15. Okay. Clearing misfire doesn't always take a long time. No, but it takes a single action. So in this, it requires us. So you get 3 actions per round, whether you use it for movement, a reload, or to actually attack. So if you misfire shooting on, say, your first action, the next one is to clear the jam, and then you still have to reload before you can ever do anything. So your whole turn's gone if you misfire. Whereas other characters who don't use these kinds of weapons, attack, move, attack, move, hide, attack out of the shadow. Like, you can do a lot of other things. If you're playing a gunslinger, there are going to be times where you misfire and it's going to cost you multiple actions just to be able to attack again. So that's why misfire is a big deal with the Gunslinger. That's why Michael doesn't like the misfire, especially since it's meant to be used for the overall balancing of how much damage you're doing per round and things like that. And that's probably why some of this, not precision, the persistent damage is a little bit higher than some of the other features in the game. Because again, it's assuming occasionally you're going to misfire. And now, again, it's all the whole math of it, right? Rather than logic or whatever. I don't think it's too far off. I think it's taken an old idea of powdered weapons and trying to incorporate it. And again, I don't think it's terrible. I actually think it's really good. It's just when it comes to how fun is it going to be fun if you misfire often? And the answer is no. You're going to spend most of your time literally, okay, I clear my jam, I reload, and I wait till my next turn. Like, that's not fun. You're just sitting there waiting till your next turn. That sucks. Or, like, if you're like me, because you want to have fun and you don't want to spend your time dealing with all that stuff, yeah, you're reloading between every shot. Unless you take that feed a minute ago that allows you to shoot and reload at the same time. Or reload and shoot at the same time. Which you would do, I feel like, all the time. I definitely would take that feat no matter what. But if I misfire, as a player, I'm probably going to throw my gun down and switch to a different weapon. I hate the fact that I'll have to wait 10 minutes for my turn and then literally do nothing because I'm dealing with the misfire, reload, and maybe getting one action. And then I got to wait another 10 minutes. That part kind of sucks to me. Again, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I don't think it's as fun as if I was playing a crossbow character. I would totally do this with a crossbow. Easily. And I would just take things that, are more in line with that, and I think I'd have a blast. And you can easily do it with this, and that's what's cool. So yeah. Called shot. So I feel like called shot should already be a mechanic in the game. It might be. I don't know. It's a flourish trait. You can target different things. Arms or another limb used for attack, such as a tentacle. The target is enfeebled 2. On a critical hit, it's also enfeebled 1 for 1 minute. So that's really good. Just being able to do that, target the different deals. If it's flying and you target the wings, it immediately falls 20 feet or 40 feet on a critical hit. The fall is gradual enough that it causes the target to hit the ground. The target takes no damage from the fall, but it's not flying now. I love that there's something like this that allows you to change the scene, right? I know as a DM myself, if there's characters that I know are incredibly effective in close quarter combat, I've always given this advice to newer DMs, then take the fighter out of it. Give them a flying creature or a creature that's out of range that they just can't get to. Force them to change what they normally do. Now you make your spellcasters the stars of the show, if assuming they can still hold up and do what they need to do. But this makes it so you can bring them down, and now those up close characters can now get engaged with it. Anytime you kind of change the scene in mid-combat, I think it makes it more interesting. Rather than, again, just a standoff where you got one character here, one here, and you just trade blows. That's just boring, and that's every RPG does that. So being able to switch things up and move around and change the scene is always good in my opinion. Deflecting shot is a reaction. An ally within the first range increment of your firearm or crossbow is hit by an attack, and you can see the attacker. When your weapon is loaded, you're always ready to fire it to deflect an attack against your ally. The ally gains a +2 circumstance bonus to their AC against the triggering attack. You use this reaction after the result of the attack roll is revealed, so you know whether the +2 will make a sufficient difference. So it doesn't say that you have to actually succeed on a shot, though. When your weapon is loaded, you're always ready to fire it to deflect an attack against your ally. The ally gains. So in other words, they just automatically get the +2 circumstance bonus. I feel like you should still have to make a roll to shoot the incoming attack. But either way, your friend's getting attacked, you kind of shoot and knock the weapon out of the way so it misses. I think that's cool. Something you might see in a movie. Or redirecting shot. You're wielding a loaded firearm or crossbow. An ally misses with a ranged attack that uses a thrown weapon or ammunition. Seeing your ally's attack about to go astray, you fire your weapon to right its course. Which makes no sense. Like, why wouldn't you just shoot the bad guy? But it's okay. Make an attack roll with your firearm or crossbow against the target of the triggering attack, ignoring any bonus the target would gain against you from lesser or standard cover. Your ally's attack uses your attack roll instead of their attack roll. So again, it's kind of fun. Really over the top, but fun. Trick shot. You shoot not at your foe, but at an object nearby. Make a strike with your firearm against the AC of 25, or a different AC at the GM's discretion. Instead of hitting your foe, your attack hits an object behind or to the side of your target, creating one of the following effects. GM might determine a particular effect isn't a valid option, such as using explosive barrel when there's no such object on the battlefield. The GM determines such cases and should inform you before you spend the actions for a trick shot. So dislodging an object. So this is kind of cool if you have to... Well, okay, so maybe not the explosive barrel. But explosive barrel is just cool because it's in, like, again, video games. But the dislodge object is kind of cool. Your attack knocks an unattended object of no more than 2 bulk out of position, moving it up to 10 feet in a direction of your choice. For example, the weapon could knock a wizard's crystal ball off a table. So the original thing I'm thinking of, and I haven't seen this in it, but, well, okay. Think of Lord of the Rings when they're like going after the ring and it's like bouncing around. Like being the character that shoots it and moves it completely out of the way to somebody else would be kind of fun, right? I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I like that one. I would definitely take that one. Throwing your gun down becomes less and less viable as you build up your magic weapon. Yeah, probably. Melchior says, shooting something which is flying isn't always the same result. Organic might be softball. Mechanical, not so much. But I like how they built in the mechanics rather than leaving it up to a game master's discretion. Sometimes game master discretion sucks. It depends on who the game master is, or the dungeon master if we're talking about 5e, right? I've played with dungeon masters who you're trying to do something fun and creative, and because they are not necessarily thinking on the same wavelength as you, they just say outright no. Or they say, that's a stupid idea. And then it gets you killed because they think as a stupid idea in their mind should be punished with death. Like, it just sucks. And I've played with DMs who are like, you know, you'll have a rogue that says, is there a chandelier here? You're like, well, you're kind of in a poor village, and no, there wouldn't be. But hell, you want to do something cool? Yeah, there's a chandelier. You know, it's completely off the wall. There is no yay or nay, and your experience is gonna with this game will differ from person to person, right? And I mean that happens anyway, but when you have a built-in mechanic for it, it does take some of that stuff out of it, which allows for a more consistent experience within a system. You can take it too far. I don't think that ability takes it too far. Again, you can still do things to counter it, right? There's always ways to counter it, you know, using imagination and creativity. But, you know, DM doesn't only apply to 5e. There are actually other versions of D&D available. So technically a Dungeon Master is trademarked, though, by Wizards of the Coast. So, yeah. I don't think they follow up on it, but I'm pretty sure Dungeon Master is a copyright thing or trademark thing. I don't know the specifics. I have not got into publishing yet, but you know. Anyways. And some people don't know what a Dungeon Master is if they've never, like, I didn't know what a Dungeon Master was for the longest time because I played in books and they call it a Game Master. And then obviously Pathfinder called it a Game Master. And so when I first actually realized, this is so embarrassing. When I first actually realized what a Dungeon Master was, when it didn't have to do with S&M, I was a little bit surprised and I thought it was funny. So, yeah. I always thought it was weird because I remember, like, the songs, like, about leveling up, like, dungeon, like, what level Dungeon Master are you and stuff as, like, a high schooler. But, yes, it's not limited to D&D at all. All right. I mean, I probably missed the context of their roll stats, but now I think I got it. All right, redirecting shot. I think I read that one right. Yeah, you get to attack or get to hit help them hit. Trick shot, I read that. Glancing shot. Even when your shots don't land cleanly, they still land close enough to inflict some damage. Make a ranged strike, it gains the following failure effect. Your attack, if you fail, your attack deals any damage it would have dealt on a hit, excluding all damage dice. So this removes damage dice from weapons, runes, spells, and special abilities in addition to weapon damage dice. So it sounds like even if you fail, I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. Incredible ricochet, single action. After your first shot singles out your opponent's position, you direct another shot that ricochets around obstacles and strikes unerringly. Make a ranged weapon strike against a creature you previously attacked this turn. You ignore the target's concealed condition and all cover. So I didn't watch it, but I remember the previews for the movie had Angelina Jolie. I want to say it was like called Wanted or something. And like they could do like these trick shots where they'd like bring their gun up around and shoot it while doing some weird arm motion, and their bullets would like go around obstacles and stuff. I kind of feel like this is in that same vein. And I don't mind it. I think it's all right. I also think it's something that's kind of like the Matrix a little. Penetrating fire. You blast a bullet through one foe and into another. So I like this one. To me, it makes sense. So being able to hit two targets. The AC, I think, does have to be high enough to hit both, though. Make a single range strike with the required weapon against both targets. This attack ignores any lesser cover, and nearer target provides the other. The nearer target provides the other. Roll damage only once and apply it to each creature you hit. Penetrating fire counts as 2 attacks for your multiple attack penalty. So you get to hit 2, but it also counts as your 2 attacks. I still think it should count as your single attack, though. Shooter's camouflage. You specialize in blending into a particular type of environment, allow you to disappear from sight after taking your shot. Choose either natural or urban terrain. So one thing I wondered about this is, could you take this twice so that you could do urban and natural terrain at some point? I don't know if there's rules about that in the game of being able to take feats twice, the same feat twice. Yeah, I never saw it, man. I don't even remember when it came out, but I remember seeing the previews and wanting to see it because it looked like an interesting action movie. I like action movies. I don't want to think too much sometimes. And so putting on an action movie is good to go. Like the other day, I heard someone bashing The Matrix as terrible movies. And I mean, I don't know. I own them all. In fact, I bought them twice. I used to have them all individually, and then I couldn't find like one of them one day. And I really wanted to watch it. And so I went to Walmart, and they have like the single cases with like all 4 movies for like $10. And so I bought it again. So now I have all of them. And I have the anime one, because that was on there too. And, yeah, I don't know. I always like those movies. I like being able to put a movie on and just watch it and enjoy it. I don't put too much stock into, this is a really deep story. Like my brother-in-law picks apart the Avengers, like thinks they're terrible movies because, well, it doesn't make sense. Why were they all of a sudden here and now they're here? And he's too logical, I think. He's not able to suspend disbelief. And I think I'm really good at that. I just don't care. Like, I'm like, no, if I'm having fun with it, I think it's cool action scenes. I think the characters are cool. I can give up a little bit here and there and be like, oh, well, time passed there and they're just skipping the bull crap to get to the next part. Like, no problem. I do have a line where it eventually gets stupid, but you know. But shooter's camouflage is kind of crazy to me. Again, it's perfect for the sniper. There's so many things in here that I think just amplify how effective a sniper is in this playtest. It's not a terrible thing, but again, I just think it's OP, especially when you add these on top of it. True grit, hardened by conflict, you possess. This goes with the grit and tenacity, will saves. Dance of Thunder. Okay, so again, this one I love. It's 3 actions. Concentrate trait. You're wielding a loaded firearm or crossbow and not fatigued. Your steps echo with the thunderous retort of exploding black powder as you dance a dance of death. Use any of the following actions you choose in any order. Step, strike against a target within your firearm's first range increment, and interact to reload. If you attempted a strike and it succeeds, You can repeat these 3 actions again in any order. If you attempted a strike in the second set and succeed, you can repeat the actions one last time after using Dance of Thunder. You become fatigued for 1 minute. So in theory, you can do 9 things with your 3 actions, assuming you hit twice. I love it. Like, that's a lot. That's a pretty powerful feat, but at the same time, you do get fatigued for 1 minute. 1 minute is what, 10 actual rounds? But this would be really cool, especially if the creature's flat-footed for whatever reason. Now you get a bonus to hit. You're probably going to crit on a hit or 2. I don't know. This is good. Really good. And the downside is pretty bad, but it's worth it when you need to just blow your load, right? But if you miss on the first strike, you're screwed. You're totally screwed. So yeah, I don't know. It would just suck to fail on that first strike. But if you hit, it's good. It's like go big or go home, right? Showstopper, pistol twirl, expert in deception. Your twirling weapons create a distracting dance that your enemies find difficult to look away from. When using pistol twirl to feint, you can target all enemies within your first range increment who you can perceive and who can see you. You roll 1 deception check and compare it against each target's perception DC. Yeah, so I think, again, if I remember right, that will demoralize them? No. I think that one makes them flat-footed, if I remember right. Fatal bullet. You're especially talented at striking your enemy's most vulnerable areas. When you critically hit with a firearm that has the fatal trait, you deal an additional damage die of the appropriate size and damage type for that trait after doubling the weapon's damage. For example, after critical hit with a fatal D12 weapon, you add an additional D12 to the attack after doubling its damage. So you would roll it, double it, and then add another D12 of damage. Pretty good. I feel like that's something that a lot of people are going to take. Can happen multiple times around if you hit and crit, right? So again, I like that. Pretty powerful, but once you get up in high levels, everything's powerful. Everything. So it doesn't really matter, right? Mike says, sorry if this was already covered, but what are firearms damage plus reload compared to crossbows? So the equipment is at the end of this, and we'll look at it, and I actually have the core rulebook right here too, so I will double check that. You know what? I'll check it now. It's cool. Let's do it. Let's do it. I think crossbows are still... I don't think the damage is too much different, to be honest. I think it's just that the feats from the Gunslinger with an actual gun are better. Melee. Ranged weapons. So crossbow is a 1d8. Hand crossbow is 1d6. Heavy crossbow, 1d10. Yeah. Okay, so looking at that, let's go down to the new weapons. Less than the crossbows, but they all have the fatal trait. So fatal D10, fatal D8, fatal D8. What about the crossbow? That would have the fatal too, won't it? No. Crossbows do not have fatal or versatile. So that might be it. The fact that these are not fatal, but those are. Interesting. I don't know. What does that mean, Michael? You tell me. Why is the fatal trait so important? I should probably just look. I got it right here. Fatal. The fatal trait includes die size. On a critical hit, the weapon's damage die increases to that die size. Oh, okay, so it just goes up on a crit. The weapon adds 1 additional damage die of the listed size. Okay. So if you crit, it goes up a damage die. You roll it, double it, and add it. Is that right? And that would apply to all this stuff too, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I got to figure that out. But either way, it sounds like it's on par, to be honest. I think it's the feats that are going to make it a bigger deal. Piercing critical, unerring shot. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to play a Pathfinder game to level 20, to be honest. So I'm not too worried about that. New firearm rules. There's concealable, modular, scatter. Weapon fires a spray of small bullets and a cone. Okay, so there's the buckshot deal right there. 15 feet fires, 15-foot cone. Basically, you can hit multiple targets. Sniper, when you hit a flat-footed creature, this weapon deals 1 precision damage in addition to its normal damage. Precision damage increases to 2 if the weapon is a +3 weapon. Unsteady basically means you should use a tripod. Critical specialization with a firearm. Target must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or be stunned 1. Yeah. So anyways, I think the Gunslinger is good. I really do. It might be a little bit OP. Depending on... it's really the sniper. The sniper is OP. I don't see any way around it. I think the Pistolero is perfect. I wouldn't change the Pistolero really very much at all. Being able to draw 2 weapons and move 10 feet just on your initiative, though, is a lot. The first one, the Drifter, where you get a melee weapon and a gun, I would change... One, I would make that level 15 ability. I'd make that the level 9, and I'd probably get rid of the returning strike. And then I wish maybe they added a 4th that was more like the Gunblade, like where you... Again, Final Fantasy VIII is the example of it. You see it in anime. You see it in other things where you literally have a weapon with a gunblade that you can shoot on a strike. Or shoot independently. It doesn't shoot as far or as powerful. You also, can use the sword kind of thing. I think a gunblade would fit in really well with Pathfinder. So what do you guys think? It's 8:45. Should we keep going with the Inventor? I think we should. I really, really do. Sorry if this is already someone clip that. Clip what? It's really great when you need to blow your load. Oh, dude, I say that all the time. I say that about spellcasters a lot. Like Crank should have blew his load on Saturday, but he chose to just let his party keep getting dropped. All firearms are reload 1. Crossbows, except for heavy, are reload 1. Deadly, but better. I think the biggest difference is that Fatal offers more damage on crit, which is now more likely against weaker foes, with crits activating at +10 versus AC. Yeah, and Gunslingers, basically all their proficiencies with their weapons are like a fighter. So they're going to be hitting and critting a lot more. A lot more. Problem I find is that the offset by misfire almost makes that not worth the Fatal effect. I agree. Like, I 100% agree with that. Because you're going to misfire probably once a session, I would think. The base damage isn't much different and hardly worth the chance for negligible damage difference. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't even be mad if they got rid of the misfire. Like, save the misfire for critical fails. But then, even then, it's still not... I don't know. I'm with you. New stream for Inventor? I don't know. What do you think? Should I do a new stream or should I just keep it? It might be better to do it as its own stream. But if I do it as a new stream, I'm not going to do it tonight. If I do it as a new stream, I will probably do it maybe Sunday. So that's up to you guys. I'm letting you decide. I do like... So with the playtest stuff, I actually print the stuff out. And so here's the Guns and Gears. I've got the Magus and the Summoner in here because that was the first Secrets of Magic right there. So that was the first playtest I did. I just take it around and read it. It's awesome. Because I'm not in my game room all the time on my computer. So, Final Fantasy VIII Gunblades are so stupid, though. Why do you say they're stupid? I mean, I didn't play much of Final Fantasy VIII. I loved Final Fantasy VII. I got Final Fantasy VIII. Actually, I think I rented it back then because Blockbuster used to be a thing. For you youngins, you used to be able to go to a store and rent a game on disc, take it home, and try it for like up to 5 days. I think it was actually 3 days for video games and movies were 5 days. Or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe video games were 5 days. But you'd rent it. You put it in your little game system, didn't have to download any updates, and you just played. Anyways, I played a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII. It didn't capture my interest enough to play it beyond renting it once or borrowing it. Chance says he did his best. Crank did his best, yep. Bullets don't go out, they just vibrate the sword. I mean, yeah. But for the RPG, it doesn't have to work that way. So like I said, I would actually put gun blades in. But what I would do is you could shoot it, but your accuracy with the gun portion of it, because it's a gun blade, would be worse, and your distance would be worse. So it would not be as good as if you just, hit it and did it. So that's the idea. You would actually strike and shoot at the same time, rather than just shoot things or just strike things with your sword. But I don't know. I think it could lend itself to having some really cool feats and stuff in there. I probably wouldn't make it part of the Gunslinger though. I'd make it its own class. I think it'd be fun. And I'm loving that I'm thinking of this. Like, I've got all sorts of ideas for it. I'm not sure how invention would work in a world with fixed mechanics. I know how it works in computer games though. An invention trait. Gunlands. You know what? We're going to do it. We're going to keep going. Let's do some damn Inventor. Go for broke. So the Inventor, again, I think the 8 hit points is too much. I think Pathfinder Second Edition, again, Sorcerer and Wizard, I think are the only things that are a D6. Like a Bard's an 8, or not a D6, but are 8 hit points. Sorry. Sorcerer and Wizard are 6 hit points plus con at first. And then at additional levels, it's still D8, right? Or D6, I mean. God damn, I can't talk. The other stuff, though, I'm sorry, I don't think you roll for it. I think it's your full. I think it's always 8, right? You increase your maximum number of hit points by this number at first level and every level. Yeah, you don't roll for it. So, totally getting confused with another game I play more of. I just feel like a druid should be 6. I feel like a monk should be 6. I think it's a 10. So I just feel like they go safe with the hit points in Second Edition. And I wish there was more lower hit points, like more variety, I guess. Because it just feels like a lot of things are lumped in the 8 and 10 hit point range in Second Edition. So again, I would change that about the Inventor. Intelligence, there's key stat. Not getting into all this. I love how Pathfinder front loads the roleplay stuff right here, like downtime, all that. Love that stuff. Key terms, modification, unstable, range, trip, and tethered. When I read tethered, it reminded me of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Range trip is kind of the same thing. If you can shoot something or do something at range, you can trip things with a penalty or something, or a bone. Yeah, penalty, I think. Good stuff. Whatever your gadget is, whether it's armor, weapon, or a robot, I'm just going to call it a robot, a little clockwork creature, it can explode. You can choose when to make it explode, or on some things, if you fail, it explodes. And then I think it just needs to be tweaked, and then you can make it work again. It takes like 10 minutes. Love that. Now you can choose between armor, weapon, construct, and you get some choices. It sounds like when I was reading the armor, I was a little confused. So the initial modification grants you resistance equal to 2 plus half your level. Okay, so you choose, oh, never mind. I'm not confused. You choose one of these things. And then your resistance is 2 plus half your level. In case you guys don't know, so resistance in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is not just half damage. If you say have resistance 5 to fire, if you take fire damage, say it's 10 fire damage, you actually only take 5. If you take 12 damage of fire damage, it's actually 7. The resistance is how much you take off of the damage. And I love this. It's way better, I think, rather than just always having if you have resistance to something. Again, I really love this mechanic. They also have the, what is it? It's the opposite of resistance. It's the, oh man, English sucks. You are vulnerable. If you are vulnerable to something, then again, like, so for example, we had bees in my other game and somebody I think was vulnerable to area of effect, or no, they were vulnerable. And so I think the player only did 1 point of damage of an area of effect, but the bees having the vulnerable trait of like 7 or something, I don't know what it was, took that 1 point, but then you added the vulnerability amount as well. So when you're vulnerable to something, it can be a huge deal. Love that aspect of Pathfinder Second Edition. Absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant. Wouldn't change anything about that. Gun lance from Monster Hunter is much closer to a reasonable implementation. A shotgun on the end of your spear. I mean, that's cool too. I actually like that. Like, I think that's awesome. Some of the trick weapons from Bloodborne are also good implementations of a melee weapon with a gun attached. I'll have to. What is Bloodborne? Is that a video game or what? I've never heard of that. Sounds good. The offset to the firearms, I think, might or should be the ability to get a few rounds off before reloading. That would be a substantial difference between crossbow and guns and make misfire understandable. Yeah, man, I'm totally with you, dude. Like, I'm glad this is just the playtest. I really am. I hope enough people mention that the misfire doesn't work as it is. Or like you're mentioning, the offset doesn't work like you're saying. Because I 100% see what you're saying, and I'm pretty sure I agree. I don't have a solution right now. I don't. Whether it's more damage or, like you're saying, being able to do more than one strike. What about this? What about, rather than making them more like the fighter, what if you made them more like the ranger with the multi-attack penalty? So rather than having them be so good that they're they are critically hitting a lot. What if you did, that might be too much. Lessening the penalty would be too much. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's tough. I really don't know. Soft game, people who made Dark Souls. Gotcha. Is it a computer game only, or is it on game systems too? I'm gonna have to write that down. I'm kind of curious about that now. Bloodborne. Never. I can't believe Monster Hunter sounds familiar, but I've never heard of that either. So Monster Hunter and Bloodborne. I'll have to check those out. Okay, so back to this, because this is what I'm talking about. So the armor, I like that you can choose a type, and then it gives you some flavor about it, rather than just saying, all right, choose something that you're resistant with. You designed your armor to inaudibly thrum at just the right frequency to create interference against force and sound waves. Again, this is cool stuff. I love, even with the playtest, I love the effort put into writing the descriptions of these things. I love the amphibious construction, increased buoyancy rudders. I love the swim speed thing, all that. That's cool for the construct. The weapons. So the weapons I kind of glossed over. I wasn't seeing anything that really stuck out. It sounded like basically you can tweak current simple weapons, and then they might resemble that weapon, but they're so modified. Part of the thing with the Inventor is this, it kind of reminds me of my grandpa. My grandpa can fix anything. The problem is when he fixed stuff, it's got electrical tape or duct tape, and it's got maybe this, an example. My first car had a lot of issues. The windshield wipers went out. We knew what it was, kind of. We replaced a part, it didn't fix it. So we bypassed the whole system. I had a wire that went along the outside of my car on the outside, in that gap where the hood was, came in from the outside through the window, and I had a toggle switch. And that's how I worked my windshield wipers. That's kind of what the Inventor reminds me of. They have a whatever it is, whether it's armor or a robot or a weapon, it's so held together by bubble gum and duct tape that it almost it's not usable by somebody else. There's no value to it to sell it, because again, it's really just trash thrown together to make it function a specific way. But I kind of like it, right? It's quirky, it's fun. It's not reliable. It's great. To me, it's great. I have pics of the car, not of the toggle switch, if that's what you're asking about. I bought my car for $25. It lasted 3 years. I wanted it to die so bad that I changed the oil myself on it a couple times, but I wanted that car to die because my mom had told me if it died, because she thought it was going to die a lot sooner, she would sell me the Ford Taurus that she didn't want anymore. And so I did what I could to let it die. So I changed the oil once in 3 years. It was crazy. Anyways, so I like the Inventor. To me, they're like super quirky. As you level up, there's a lot of fun things you can get. Different things that are going to matter, like overdrive. You add greater power to your attacks. I think that's first level still too. By throwing an array of small gadgets and gizmos into overdrive. Attempt a crafting check with a standard DC for your level. This is not something you're necessarily going to do. Well, maybe you're going to do it mid-combat. It's a single action somehow. But you basically tweak your gadget and then you attempt a crafting check. Critical success, your gadgets wear with overwhelming power. Your strikes deal additional damage equal to your intelligence modifier for 1 minute. You can't use overdrive again until 1 minute after the effect expires. But 1 minute, you should be out of combat. Success, you successfully throw your gadgets into overdrive. As a critical success, except the additional damage is equal to half your intelligence modifier. Failure, you make miscalculation and fail to power up your devices, but you can try again. A critical failure, whoops, something explodes. You take fire damage equal to your level. You can't use overdrive again for 1 minute. Special, if you have a construct innovation, its strikes also gain the additional damage. And if you critically fail your crafting check, it also takes the fire damage. Again, it's like a guy who always is tinkering with stuff. If he does well, it does something cool for a little bit, but then it's because it's so unreliable, it's not going to last. If you really suck and mess up, you're going to hurt yourself and possibly your party, possibly the invention. Reconfigure, all these things are kind of fun. Again, not going to go through all this stuff, but I actually think this is a really fun class. Honestly, when I was looking at it, it didn't feel OP. You got different modifications you can add to like your constructs. Should probably go up here. Yeah. Later on, you can actually get, rather than I think building it, I think you can just get a familiar that's a construct or something. Construct familiar or something. I don't know exactly how that works, but built-in tools. You've built tools into your innovation, allowing you to use them easily when you take this feat. Choose a set of tools you own of 1 bulk or less, which become part of your innovation without increasing its bulk. So to me, if it's like in your weapon, it's kind of like the handle of some of like your screwdrivers where you unscrew the bottom and like the different tips pop out or whatever. I mean, like it's a little more than that because it's bulk 1, but armor makes perfect sense for this. It's like, oh, you just take a little piece off and all of a sudden there's a bunch of tools. Like your construct, maybe it's like R2-D2 and it has like a compartment that opens and you got a bunch of damn things. Basically, your construct could be R2-D2. Like, it's just kind of cool. How actually does the inventor work in the game, though? Do they decide what they want to invent, and then the GM decides on the rules for inventing or what? So there's optional rules, not optional. There's rules at the end of every section. So if you wanted to create something on the spur of the moment, prototype construct companions. The following are the base statistics. I'm assuming you just do a craft check like anything else, because craft is one of your first skills. But I don't know if there's anything in particular like, 7 levels of successes to build this thing, right? I think the idea is you do a craft check. Based on your crafting check, it's going to be at a certain level and then here. But again, I don't know. And it might just be hidden in these different feats too. Again, I haven't spent as much time with the Inventor as the Gunslinger. Gunslinger I've read 10 times. Like I said, I did a video with almost 2 hours of footage. I mean, obviously I just went through the Gunslinger for the most part and it took almost 2 hours. So you can see why there's way too many feats right now. Explosive leap. This is the same thing as the quake thing for the gunslinger. Your construct could do it too. Again, I don't mind that. I don't think that's a powerful thing. It's not going to swing combat necessarily. It's really just so you can get an extra little bit of movement. You know, whether it's jumping or running, gives you a little bit more speed. It's unstable, so it can risk blowing up your thing, though. Because it's got the unstable trait and fire trait. Prototype companion. You've created a construct companion, and while it might not be an innovation, it serves as a trustworthy minion. You gain a prototype construct companion. So you may have already taken having your gadget be a construct, but this allows you to have another prototype companion, right? So you could have two. Like, that's kind of cool. I kind of like having two robots. But if you do this, that uses the familiar like companion traits at the end of the chapter, which is different than if you just take the stuff early on for your construct, right? At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Tamper. You tamper with a foe's weapon or armor. Choose either a weapon held by an enemy in your reach or a suit of armor worn by an enemy in your reach. Attempt a crafting check against the enemy's reflex DC. Critical success. Your tampering is incredibly effective. If you tampered with a weapon, the enemy takes a -2 circumstance penalty to attack rolls and damage rolls with that weapon. If you tampered with armor, the armor hampers the enemy's movement, causing them to be flat-footed and take a -10 foot penalty to their speeds. Either effect lasts until the enemy... So I can't imagine how this would work in combat, honestly. But it's a single action. You got to assume you could do it. It's almost like maybe you know... Like, oh, you see the strap of their armor, and so you like quickly like reach out and unlatch it. Or if it's their weapon, you know, like, because you're incredibly intelligent, you know where its weak spot is. So you hit it and maybe you dent it or something, you know. I don't know. Like, I think it's fine. It's hard to. There's something weird about it, I guess. It doesn't make logical sense as much as mechanically it's fine, right? So I like it, but I don't. Because again, there's some things that are too far out of the realm of suspend disbelief. And I think tamper might be it. I feel like tamper should be an out of combat thing more than anything. The armor part is fine with me. It's the weapon part that I'm like, I can't really justify it. Maybe if it's like a bow, but like, what are you going to do to someone's sword while they're holding it to make them just have to interact with it to make it normal? Like, I don't know. Unstable repair. You quickly fix your innovation at the cost of its stability. You repair your innovation. Repair has the unstable trait when used this way. You don't have to place the innovation on a flat surface. Oh, by the way, Melchior, you're asking more about how the Inventor works. They have a whole book that's coming out next year for this stuff. So again, I think they're going to have like the battle wheelchair in there. They're probably going to have more crafting rules than they've ever had before, especially when it comes to things like this. This is literally just about the classes. I think if you're going to want the rules, it's all going to be in that book. That's the downside. So right now in this, you can't just make a billion construct army. It's not possible with just this. In that book, I bet you it's going to say how long it's going to take to craft a construct, how long and how much money it's going to take to craft armor or weapons with these types of traits. That's what I think will be in there if I had to guess, personally. Again, I want the gun blades in there, though. I really want that in there. It looks like there are certain predefined inventions, or at least invention types, and you have to select one of them. Currently, yes. But again, you're going to get more in that book. Like, think about it. They have 2 classes, and the book's going to be, 200 pages? These 2 classes are going to be maybe 10 of those pages, right? Each. So you're talking about 20 of the 200 pages. So... No, it's not just the Inventor. The whole book is going to be called Guns and Gears. They also have a book coming out a month or two before that called, is it Secrets of Magic? I think it's Secrets of Magic. That has summoners and it has the Magus. But the whole rest of the book is going to have spells. It's going to have all sorts of other stuff, right? So they're not giving you everything in the playtest. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But yeah, I actually, for a minute there, I was with you. I was like, yeah, it doesn't tell you if you wanted to create something necessarily. But I guess they're leaving that again for the book. And I don't blame them for that. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Especially since you're going to need more than a couple pages probably to define each thing and have the different things you can do to it and whatever, right? Because if they don't define it, it's going to be really easy to make things OP, right? It's no different than crafting magic items, because that's the other thing. Pathfinder Second Edition has rules for crafting magic items and all that stuff. And that's in the core rulebook, I believe, if I remember right. Yeah, there's like 4 different sections in the core rulebook for crafting magic items. So I think they're just going to dive deeper in that Guns and Gears book. Kickback Strike. You activate devices on your innovation, causing your weapon to strike with extreme recoil that helps you disengage. Strike a foe and then stride twice. You must end each strike further from the foe than you began. That makes sense because your inventor is not, by himself, he's not really good in combat. He's not going to have a high armor class. He's not going to be good at attacking. Like, everything he's good at comes from his invention. Not him, but from his invention. So I think it's fine. Now, no, I created you. Basically, if your construct or whatever is under control of something else for whatever reason, you're bringing it back. You're convincing it, no, you're on my side. It'll be interesting to see when that matters. Like, how often is somebody going to be able to get control of your construct? I don't know. Searing Restoration, they told you there was no... So this has a few different traits, by the way. Fire, Healing, Inventor, Manipulate, and Unstable. They told you there was no way that explosions could heal people. But they were fools. Fools who didn't understand your brilliance. You create a minor explosion using your innovation that cauterizes wounds and vaporizes medicinal herbs, restoring 1d4 hit points for each level you have to you or an adjacent living creature. Special. If your innovation is a minion, it can take this action rather than you. Because it's not a living creature, it can't use the ability on itself. That one's fun. But, the explosion of it doesn't make sense. Like, being able to heal with an explosion is kind of crazy. And because it's not magical, to me, it's weird. If it was magical, I guess it would make more sense, right? Transform Armor. This is an armor innovation, manipulate, modification. You're wearing your armor innovation or holding it in both hands in its compact form. You've modified your armor to collapse into a much smaller compact form. In compact form, your armor innovation is easier to carry, with a bulk 1 lower than the bulk listed for it, to a minimum of light bulk. Carried armor normally has a bulk 1 higher than listed in the armor entry. You can transform your armor into or out of its compact form to put it on or take it off in an instant. If you're wearing your armor innovation, when you transform it, you remove it instantly, and it collapses into its compact form, which is held in both of your hands. If you don't have both hands available, it falls to the ground in an adjacent space. If you're holding your armor in compact form when you transform it, it unfolds back into its armor form onto your body. So the first thing I thought of, and I don't think this would work, but I thought of like Power Rangers when they had like the belt buckle thing, they'd take it off and go, and then they'd transform into the Power Rangers. I kind of thought of that. It kind of could work for like Tony Stark. But again, I don't think the Iron Man armor would work either. Because again, you got to be holding it. But yeah, either way, it's cool. Transform construct, same thing, but a construct. I'm cool with that. I like being able. I like the idea of like, oh yeah, you've got something you can like fold it down into something small. Makes sense for this quirky kind of character who's going to look like a total dweebus. At least that's my image of it, right? Advanced Construct Companion. You've upgraded your Construct Companion's power and decision-making ability. Your Construct Companion becomes an Advanced Construct Companion. During an encounter, even if you don't use the command, a minion action, your Construct Companion can still use one action on your turn that round to stride or strike. Okay, I'm liking that. A lot of classes in Pathfinder Second Edition have some sort of animal companion or whatever, Eidolon or whatever. And so while the player character, isn't the best in combat when they have those things, the companion makes up for it a little bit with the action economy. So, for example, in the regular classes, the PC will command their companion to do something. The companion then gets like 2 actions. The command action is 1 action. So then you still have 2 actions by the companion and 2 actions by the PC. So they have 4 actions per round between the 2 of them, rather than just 3 for the 1 when you think of it that way. So it's still not as good as like your fighter up, or something else. Sometimes though, your PC will still have spells to supplement the companion. So with the remaining 2 actions, they might be able to do a spell or 1 spell, and then your companion can still do 2 things. So again, it's I don't know if it's necessarily still balanced. I still think they're underpowered when it comes to combat. But the fact that now you've got a couple more actions, or 1 more action, kind of lessens that a little bit. Diving armor. You've modified your armor with features like fins, rotors, and other gadgets to make it easy for you to move through water, plus mechanical gills that can help you extract breathable air from water. While wearing your armor innovation, you can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed equal to your land speed. I like that. That's fun. Dual form weapon. You've built your innovation with replaceable interlocking pieces, allowing you to transform it into another type of weapon entirely. When you select this feat, choose a level 0 simple or martial weapon, a common weapon, or another to which you have access. This weapon becomes your innovation's second configuration. Oh, so something about weapons too. If you take it and make a weapon innovation, no other character is proficient in it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a sword that you've modified, it's so different that a fighter can't use that sword proficiently. So they're not going to get the proficiency bonus with it. They're not going to be as effective with it as, say, you are. And that's, I think, kind of cool. And it makes sense. Like, once you start doing a bunch of crap to a weapon, the balance is off. How it works is going to be slightly different. The actual gadgets associated with it are going to change how it works. So again, I think that's cool. Any sufficiently advanced technology will have the appearance of magic, right? I mean, technically, yeah, there's no discernible difference to people who don't know, right? Isn't that the idea? Anyway, so you can add new weapon modifications. I like that. Megaton Strike. You activate gears, explosives, and other hidden gadgets in your innovation to make a powerful attack. This is 2 actions, by the way. If you're wearing your innovation, make a melee unarmed strike or a melee strike with 1 weapon you chose during daily preparations. If you have a minion innovation, it makes a strike. And if you have a weapon innovation, make a strike with your innovation. If the strike hits, it deals double the usual number of weapon damage dice. 2 for a weapon without a striking rune, 4 for a striking weapon, 6 for a greater striking weapon, and 8 for a major striking weapon. So double the usual number of weapon damage dice. I mean, considering it takes 2 actions, the thing that's cool about this is it's going to be 1 action, or not 1 action. It's 1 strike, so you don't get a multiple attack penalty. You can then use your final attack, assuming you're within 5 feet, to do a normal attack. That's kind of cool. If your innovation is a minion, it can take this action rather than you. Clockwork Celerity. Trigger. Your turn begins. Unstable clock. This is a free action. Unstable clockwork devices in your innovation allow you to push your innovation to act more quickly. You're quickened for this turn. How you can use the extra action depends on your innovation. Armor. You can use the extra action to step, stride, or use another movement action granted by your innovation, such as swim if you have the diving armor feat. Construct. You can use the extra action to command your minion. Weapon. You can use the extra action to strike with your innovation. That's kind of cool. So again, you're messing with the action economy, but because you're not the most powerful character, I think that's going to be good. Megavolt. That's a lot of damage. Level 6, 2 actions. Whew. It is unstable. You cause your innovation to shoot out a bolt of electricity, damaging creatures in a line. Creatures in a 60-foot line from you take 3d12 electricity damage with a basic reflex save against your class DC. It increases at level 8 by 1d12 and every 2 levels thereafter. Oh my goodness. So that one, okay, now your character is going to be kind of powerful with that. It's 2 actions. Whew. Wow. And like if you're using miniatures and your DM accidentally lines a bunch of enemies up, oh my goodness. That's a lot. Override ally. You quickly fling some of your powered up gadgets to an ally, sharing your benefits briefly with them. Choose an ally within 30 feet. Until the end of their next turn, that ally gains the same amount of additional damage to their strikes as you currently gain from overdrive. Electrify armor is cool. I like that. Chain reaction, causing countless sparks to dance across your armor for 1 minute. Any creature that touches you or that hits you with a melee unarmed attack or non-reach melee attack takes 1d12 electricity damage. So the whole combat, I mean, you're talking about 1 minute, you're talking about 10 rounds, right? Creatures attack you, they're going to take damage. That is sweet. That's only level 10. Like, the roleplay of this character, I think, would be really fun. I really do. And then making him, like I feel like I would either make the companion and just put everything into that, or I would probably do the armor and be just a defensive guy. I'm thinking, oh gosh, there's like movies and cartoons that have like characters like this. Like I'm thinking of like, what was it? Was it the Goonies? Where he had like all the inventions? Yeah. And they did like crazy, like the boxing glove that popped out and all sorts of crazy stuff. That character is this. Like right there, which we have that movie. I should go watch that with the kids tomorrow. But this character is 100% that kid from the Goonies. 100%. Soaring armor, whether through releasing jets of flame, propeller blades, magnetic fields, or some combination of the above, you've managed to free your innovation from the bonds of gravity. While wearing your innovation, you gain a fly speed equal to your land speed. I like that. And so that's 16th level. So that's on par with some of the racial abilities, I think. I think like the Tiefling can do it for a couple minutes at 10th level and the Aasimar can. But then once they hit like 17th level, I think they get it like indefinitely. Which I think is awesome. You failed to account for this reaction. Creature you can perceive targets you with an attack against your AC. When your foes try to attack you, you always seem to have some outlandish gadget you can pull out at the last second to protect you. Describe a device you attempt to use to protect yourself from the foe's attack. For instance, when attacked by a shocker lizard shock strike, you might pull out especially... So this assumes you're creating technology in your downtime or whatever. Like, you don't ever have to like actually say what it is. But in the moment, you roleplay some random gadget to distract the creature. So you might pull out a specially grounded lightning rod from that time you tried to power an invention by harnessing a thunderstorm. Using an invention to defend in this way means that the attack roll for the triggering attack targets your crafting DC instead of your AC. So I'm kind of imagining like the Joker with his flower and just squirting someone in the face. like, oh, they go to attack you. And you squirt them in the face. I love it. Since you use your crafting DC instead of your AC, any penalties to your armor class don't apply. But this feat doesn't remove any conditions or other effects causing such penalties. For instance, if you were flat-footed and used an invention to defend against a sneak attack, the -2 penalty to AC from being flat-footed wouldn't apply to your crafting DC. However, you're still flat-footed, so if the attack hits, you'd still take the extra damage. Makes sense? Devastating weaponry. This sounds like it might be in the line or engine of destruction. One of these might be in line with the Dance of Death pistolero thing or whatever. Yeah, you release a volley of projectiles from your weapon or power it to fly about and strike multiple creatures. Make a strike with your weapon innovation against each creature within 30 feet of you. Don't increase your multiple attack penalty until after making all the attacks. If your innovation is a melee weapon and any of the attacks are outside your reach, you release the weapon before the strikes. And it returns to your grasp after all of them. Ooh, that's crazy. If your hands are full when the weapon returns, it falls to the ground in your space. Engine of Destruction. Your construct releases a broad swat. I like that. I like that. So again, we're up at 20th level. I don't care. Okay, Construct Companion. Whoops. Construct Companion. Construct Companion is a loyal, semi-sentient construct who follows your orders. It possesses roughly the same intelligence as an animal. Your Construct Companion has the minion trait, and it gains 2 actions during your turn if you use the command a minion action to command it. If your companion is destroyed, you can spend 1 day of downtime and attempt a crafting check with a high DC for your level. On a successful check, you rebuild your companion. You can have only 1 construct companion at a time, and you can have either a construct companion or an animal companion, but not both. I don't like that it restricts you, but at the same time, I can see why. It'd be kind of crazy if you had too many. Riding construct companions. You or an ally can ride your construct companion as long as it's at least 1 size larger than the rider. Prototype construct companions. Yeah, it's basically on par, I think, with the animal companion. So there's nothing too crazy here that stands out to me. But as a player, I've only played a fighter in 2nd edition, so I can't say I'm fully well versed on companions. So when it comes down to it, and obviously the inventor's a little bit easier to go through. I did skip a little bit more. I think the inventor's really cool. I think that it's a lot of fun, and there's nothing that I see that's too overpowered with it. I think its power level is on par with a lot of stuff. There are some things that require a little bit more suspension of disbelief than I would like to do. More so than the gunslinger for me, and probably because I've just seen more things like those different gunslinger abilities. I am again, before this came out, I did not know that I wanted this kind of stuff for Pathfinder. And now that I've read it, I actually I'm liking it. I think it would be fun. It would be interesting. I think it'd be kind of interesting if your whole party was gunslingers. Or, even just throwing in some of the gunslingers, like 1 gunslinger into your party would be fun. Having an inventor in your party, I think, would be a lot of fun, especially with the right person playing those. The inventor with the right player could be hilarious. Could be, again, just like the Goonies character, and I like that. It's a different type of character than I'm used to. I think it would be different for a lot of people at their tables than what they're used to. And again, I just think it's going to be a good time. And that's what this stuff's about. If you're not having fun, why are you playing, right? If this stuff is too much for your game, and I don't blame you if you think it is, but if it's too much, you can say no. They're both uncommon classes. If you're playing in Galarian, though, again, you can still say no to these things, but parts of Galarian, the gunslinger's more common. Not that it is common, but it's a little more common. And I don't know how you could justify playing in those areas without allowing a gunslinger. It's only a couple areas. It's not the whole thing. I think that's what you sign up for when you play in Galarian. You sign up for really high fantasy. You're signing up for the kitchen sink of fantasy when you play in Galarian. If that's not your cup of tea, again, that's fine. Nobody's faulting you. It's your table. Play how you want. Just have a open communication with your group, and it's not going to be a problem. If you've tried this stuff out in your game and you like it, let them know with the playtest. Like, go and do the survey when you've tested it out. If you haven't played it, try not to pass judgment. Just, if it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't try it, whatever. If you have tested it and you don't like it, what are the things you don't like? Like Michael was saying earlier, he's not a fan of the misfire in relation to the, the perks. He thinks there's more negative than the positive when it comes to the balance of it. And I don't disagree with him. I actually agree. I'm fine with the misfire, but I think there should be, it's almost like you should confirm the misfire. like, I don't want to bring that back, the whole confirmed critical deal or any of that stuff, but it just seems like it happens too much. And maybe I think only certain things really cause it, but yeah, it's only a DC 5, I think, to misfire. So if it's less than 5 on your roll for it. So it's not too bad, but again, I am not the biggest fan of the misfire either, in the grand scheme. I think maybe you could up the damage a little bit more. Like the fact that a lot of crossbows do more damage than your guns. Yeah, I think the crossbows even shoot further than your guns. So it seems suboptimal, and then you also get a negative connotation. But some of the feats actually benefit, but they also benefit some crossbows. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air for me. I kind of like it, though. I like what they've done so far. I don't know how they playtest. I don't know if some of these things they've already knew before they put this out. Yeah, that's not going to be in there. We just want to test some grounds, or we're really focusing on this aspect of it. I don't know how they playtest. Like, I don't know what their thinking is behind it, but either way, I am sure things are going to change a little bit. I'm very curious to see what they remove, what they add, what they tweak. Very curious. Any technology, no matter how primitive, is magic to those who don't. Yeah, that's what I said. I wonder if they base the inventor class on the world of Girl Genius. That would be fun for a less than serious themed game. Yeah, I think both of these could be played in a non-serious way, or in a thematic, like a specific theme of a campaign. I think they could be a lot of fun. They also, there's on the east coast of their main continent, there's some areas that use more technology. They have like more clockwork and robot type monsters. And I think they even have aliens and like laser weapons and stuff over there. And so in those areas, this stuff works fine. It's non-issue. The other part of their world, a lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily fit. And I'm sure they took inspiration from the thing you mentioned and others. Like a lot of the stuff in here, you can see if you're really into pop culture and movies and cartoons and comics and all this, you can see where some of this stuff comes from. And again, I'm just curious to see where they go with it. I like it. If I, again, go through this and dissect it, there's different things, like I've already mentioned in here, that I would tweak, I would remove. There's things I would add. I would definitely add more to the inventor. 3 different things doesn't seem like enough to me, armor, weapon, or a clockwork familiar thing. I think if you could, and again, we're going to have a whole book on this stuff, so who knows what's going to be in there. They might be able to do other things that aren't even related to their class. They might be able to create gear that helps them carry more bulk just because of the invention, or, so there might be some new crafting things you can do for anybody in that book. Like it wouldn't be just for this class or whatever, but in there, I'm sure they're going to have more crafting rules for different types of things. Being able to craft your own backpack that can hold more or carry more bulk, things like that. I could definitely see. Again, I think the battle wheelchair will be in there. I think you're going to get more things like that. More equipment will be in there. I wouldn't be surprised to see like laser weapons show up, more like some siege weapons. Seems like it would make sense for Guns and Gears, right? So again, I don't know. I'm open to see what they do. I didn't think I would be as excited as I am about this. I was expecting 2 more magic classes for like Secrets of Magic or Mysteries. I think it's Secrets of Magic. So I'm cool with it. I'm loving it. And to me, Paizo's doing things right, for what their base likes. I am definitely a fan of Pathfinder Second Edition. I'm still a fan of that other game. I think for me, my perfect system's in between. So for me, I'll probably still play both. And again, the more comfortable I get with Pathfinder Second Edition, the more I am accepting of all these different things. On the surface, some of the stuff, like if you're not familiar with it, you're like, oh, that's a lot. And oh, look at all these different traits and all these conditions. And while some of the terminology is hard for me to grasp at times, ultimately when it clicks and you start to understand it more, I think it's good. I think it's a good system. So with that, I'm going to end it there. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks, Melchior, Roll Stats, Dead Aussie Gamer, Lockfin, all you guys who joined tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate having you guys in chat. This was Master the Game. I am Juice. Game on.